inclines. We're going to start with inclined planes, two-dimensional shapes, and we'll add the third dimension in the next chapter. So here's the horizon line. Now, any lines that go to a dot on the horizon line are going to be parallel to the ground plane. So if I make a road, and we call this a center vision, and you're driving along this road and you hit an incline, it's going to go to a vanishing point that is not on the horizon line. If you're driving straight and the road goes uphill, the vanishing point for that incline is going to be directly above the center of vision. The farther up you put it, the steeper the incline is going to be. So in a case like this, you're driving along and then you go uphill. You don't have to turn your steering wheel to the left or right. But if I put a vanishing point here, let's say, then this road is not as steep as this road. It's lower down, closer to the horizon line. So with this incline, you're driving along and you need to make a right turn. And then we'll put one way up here. Now this is the steepest of all. So now you're driving along and then you have to make a left turn. And if you get to, say, about here, then the road flattens out. Now it's going parallel with the ground. You are not going uphill. You are not going downhill. And maybe you get to this point and then you go downhill. But you're going to have to turn your steering wheel to the left to stay on the road. We can put a vanishing point here. So I'm just making up these vanishing points randomly. So now you're going downhill a bit. And you would have to turn your wheel to the left to stay on the road. So this is just basic inclines. This doesn't account for angle, the degree of how steep these are. It doesn't account for the length of the incline. All of those things are covered in the book on chapter 9. So I don't think we need to go through all the specifics about how to set up the auxiliary vanishing points, auxiliary measuring points, auxiliary horizon line. All of those procedures are outlined in the book. What I thought would be more helpful, instead of just repeating the information that's in the book, is to create a situation where we can apply that information. So I thought we'd draw a deck of cards. There's an elevation view and a plan view.
Sup?
This is an elevation view of the deck of cards, and then this is a plan view of the deck of cards. So to make this make sense, we're using magic cards. We have our deck. This is 1-to-1 scale. It's going to be setting like this at a 45-degree angle. And we're going to be picking up one of the cards, lifting it up, and we're also rotating it. So now the card is at a 60-degree angle, and it's lifted up at a 30-degree incline from the ground plane. The tip of the card is going to be 1 unit above the deck of cards. So here's our diagram. I set this up at 45 degrees, station point, center of vision. Here's measuring point for a 1 point perspective. Let's draw the deck of cards in 1:1 scale. So each half inch on my ruler is, I'm just going to call them units, because you could use any kind of scale, metric, imperial, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to just refer to these as units. So let's draw the deck of cards 2 units to the right of where the viewer is looking, and 1 unit back in space. So here's 2 units to the right and 1 unit behind the picture plane. That would be a 1 point perspective line. And we want it 1 unit behind the picture plane. So I go over to the measuring point, and there is 1. That's the front corner of the deck of cards. That's going to be right here. Now this is at 45 degrees. So now our measuring points are turning into vanishing points. So this is all review of things we covered in drawing 2-point perspective. So we have a line going, so I'm going through this kind of quickly. So we have a line going to what is now the left vanishing point, and a line that is going to what is now the right vanishing point. Okay, now we want to make the deck of cards, it is 7 by 5 units, and it is 1 unit thick. I need measuring points. Take this corner, I'm going to measure this left side. So here's my left measuring point. I'm going to take that corner and project it out to the measuring line. It's close to being right in the middle between these two. There is 7. And the other side is 5. So here's my right measuring point. And there's 5. One unit tall. So I'm just going to come over here and use this, I'm going to use this right vanishing point as a reference point, and come over here and come up 1 unit at the picture plane, and then bring that back to this vanishing point. And then it's just connecting dots. And there's my deck of cards. I want to put the corner of this card that is lifting up off the deck, I want to put it right in the middle. So I'm going to find this spot, and then, which is that spot, and then I'm going to come up 1 unit and put a dot there, and that'll be the beginning of this inclined card. The easiest way to find the center of a shape is just to put an X. And there's the middle. So I want this to be 1 unit above the top of this deck of cards. And the deck of cards is already 1 unit. So I need to add an extra unit. There's a whole bunch of ways to do this. Since I've already made this 1 and brought it back to here, I think what I'm going to do is add an extra unit onto this. Change colors. So here's an extra unit. So there's 1 and there's 2. And I'm going to bring that back to my reference point. And here is a center line. I think going this way might be the easiest way to see what's happening here. I'm taking this and bringing it over to the side. Right there. This is right in the middle of those two lines. Then I'm going to raise it up. And there's one. And then I'm bringing it back. This might not be the most economical approach to this, but I think it's a little bit easier to understand of taking this, moving it over to the center of the box, and then moving it back. It's a few steps. This is the front corner of my card that is lifting up off the deck. So this one, this deck is 45 degrees from the picture plane. But the card that is lifting up off of the deck, that's going to be a different angle, just to make it more fun. So see, this one is 45. We're rotating the card to 60 degrees. So it'll be 30 degrees on this side, 60 degrees on that side. So we take this 60 that's here, put that angle at the station point. Now we have a 60 degree left vanishing point. Put 30 over here. And we have a 30 degree right vanishing point. Now I want the card to be lifted up at a 30 degree angle. If the card was parallel to the ground at this 60-30 degree angle, this line would go to a dot on the horizon line. It would go to here. If we lifted it up 30 degrees, it's going to go to a spot directly above this vanishing point. It's going to be along this line. And to find where it is along this line, we need that left measuring point, the left measuring point that belongs to this vanishing point. So we take the distance from vanishing point to station point and swing that up to horizon line. So this is our 60 degree left measuring point. Now if I want a 30 degree angle to the ground plane, I put my 30 degree triangle here. This goes up at a 30 degree angle. Now we want to make this 7. I think I might need an overlay for this. One of the rules with inclines is that the measuring line must touch the line that you are measuring. So our measuring line is way over here, but we need to put it right here. We need for it to be touching that. So what we have to do is take our scale here, and we need to move it back and then raise it up. Or we can raise it up and then move it back. I'm going to do that. I think that's going to be a little clearer. But here, since I have 2 units already marked out right there, this is going to be pretty convenient, which I take 7, which is here, and raise that up. Now I just moved up my measuring line 2 units above the ground plane. So now this line and this line, they're on the same plane. They're both 2 units above the ground. So I can take a reference point and bring this 7 units back in space. And here is the 7 units back in space. Now it's touching the green line I want to measure. Straight across from the vanishing point. This line is called our auxiliary horizon line. So to get our measuring point that belongs to this, you take the distance between the vanishing point and the spot you get your true angles from, and you swing that up. So now I have my measuring line here. There's 7. And this is my measuring point. This is my auxiliary measuring point. 7. Go to measuring point. And that is 7 from here to here. That's just one line of the card. The other side is 5. It's parallel to the ground plane. So it's going to go to a vanishing point that's on the horizon line. Now the measuring line you use to measure this, it doesn't have to touch it as a incline does. It does, however, have to be on the same plane. The measuring line and the line you are measuring have to be on the same plane. Now this is 2 units above the ground. And we established our 2 units here. So I'm going to use this and take 5 units along the measuring line and just raise it up. I need a measuring point for this right vanishing point, though I don't have that yet. So I'm going to take this corner and go through the right measuring point. Go through that front corner of that card. Swing it out here to this measuring line. Now this measuring line just goes straight up. The units don't change. They don't get bigger or smaller. When you take it and you move it back in space, then the units get smaller. If you take your measuring line and move it forward, then the units get larger. So here is my 0, and I can just use a ruler to count over 5. And then come back to that same measuring point. And there's 5. From here, it's connecting dots.